How do you define creativity?
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
It was funny that I kind of bombed your guys' meeting the other day.
Yeah.
but
But it was good though.
I'm really glad I did because the wheels started turning in my brain when I was listening to you guys talk, and I feel like you're someone that is obviously you're an artist, you're a muralist, and all that, but I like to call you these type of people that I meet that they're like octopus, and I mean this in the best way possible. But it's like you have your hands in everything. Like you do one thing, but you have 8 arms. Someone a long time ago, one of my DJ buddies told me, you got to be an octopus. You got to like DJing is your thing, graphic design is your thing, art is your thing, but you got to have all your arms in something. I know you are an artist, obviously. I've said it like 20 times, but you do so many things within that realm. And I think as a lot of creatives and especially the people that listen to this podcast, we're always trying to figure out how can we monetize our art? Like, how do we convince people that the dope shit we're doing is dope and we should get paid for it? Because there's so many ways to do it, especially now with technology and the age we're living in. But yeah, like, where did you kind of first start in your artist journey? Like, were you always a painter, muralist, or was it somewhere else that kind of led you to that?
I think with my art, I started like underground hip hop. I would say like first it was like rapping, like battle rapping, emceeing, ciphers.
Wow.
And that was like W.R. Thomas middle school.
Sheesh.
Then going to like Braddock and then like learning about like the 4 elements of hip hop, graffiti, breakdancing,
Right.
emceeing, DJing. After I graduated high school is when I really got into art. So like my dad was a graphic designer my whole life, and he would do like artwork for like Digimon, for the Miami Heat,
Wow.
for like Busch Gardens. So like those shirts that you would buy on vacation with the roller coasters,
Yeah.
he would do those designs. But I wasn't good at art at that time. I was, I had ADD, my attention span was all over the place. So like I would say hip hop and sports, playing baseball too, kind of like gave me that discipline. So once I graduated '07 and I got into graffiti, I kind of let go of baseball, let go of some parts of hip hop, and just focus on graffiti. And graffiti kind of taught me how to outline, taught me how to do like fills, just trial and error. The hazing part of it, of just like dealing with graffiti writers and being like, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, yo, this is trash. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, back to the drawing board and rinse and repeat. So a lot of it was just kind of looking like a fool for a little bit. You kind of have to, especially if you don't have like raw talent right away, and just like hit the ground running.
Wow. So you were already right off of high school getting into the art scene and the creative scene. When did it kind of click for you? Like, oh, this could be like a legit business.
I think it was like maybe 4 or 5 years later after learning graph, like after like '07, it might have been like 2012 or 2011. I sold like my first hat. It was like a snapback like the one I'm wearing now. And I sold it to a lady, and it was just the brim and the top of the hat that I painted. And I think I sold it for like $25, but it was like the aha moment. I was like, oh man, I can actually make money off art. And it's no longer like technically a hobby. It's like a extra source of income.
Yeah, it's like the first time you do a transaction with something you made, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, if someone's willing to pay, that means maybe other people are willing to pay for it. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, but it's different when you're young. You just don't think that's viable. Like, it's hard to picture like, okay, $25, but how many times can I sell a snapback for $25? And it's like you have to like keep, like, almost like you said, like rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Being persistent. It's not really like being delusional. It's more or less of like, this is what I learned from sales. Like my first sales job, like I got hired at Sears, but the manager was like, oh, you're not good enough. And I almost left that meeting being like, damn, maybe I'm not good enough. So that's
That's crazy.
imposter syndrome,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when I did sell that hat, I was like, oh, I just have to continue this and like redefine it and perfect it in like different ways, just progress altogether.
Yeah, it's like, but it's crazy because when you're young, you almost it's that imposter syndrome, but almost like you. And I would do this back in the day, especially like I would underprice myself because I'm like, nah, I mean, like it's crazy. You're paying me to make something that doesn't make sense, or a mix. Like it's just like you shouldn't be paying a lot. But then when you get older, you realize like, oh no, this is not doesn't just come from thin air. Like I'm literally making it from thin air, but like there's a skill to this. There's like a craft to this. It takes years. It's not just because it's creative. It doesn't mean there's a monetary value to it. But it's crazy because you have to go through that in the beginning of where like you're not really sure. Should I give this away? Should I be charging this? Should I be charging that? So like when did you start kind of knowing, okay, maybe, there is some value to what I'm doing. Like how can I package this in a way where I can sell this?
I think it started like when my wife or my girlfriend at the time, Christine, she came into the picture and she was like, "All this stuff is really cool. You do cool art, you do music, but where's your website? Why does your IG look like this?" And I thought I knew it all, so I was like, "Oh no, everything's good. I'm gonna make sales." And she's like, "No, I think we need to fine tune this a little bit." So when she started doing like the web design and fixing up my IG and telling me like, oh, maybe this is the way you should post it so that way it gets like more engagement, then I started looking at it like past just being an artist, because like we can put art into the world, but it has to kind of like either relate to everyone or there has to be like an approach to it in order for it to really tap into like the zeitgeist.
Hmm. So how do you, because like I said, you kind of have so many mediums, and like you were just saying, like even the music, the art, graffiti, like you spray paint products, you make products, or you'll get other people's products and do a collab or whatever the case is. How do you kind of manage that all in your brain of like, okay, like I need to do this because this makes money, but like I know this in the long term will work, or I need to kind of spread out over here because maybe the brands will like what I'm doing like this. Like, how do you kind of manage all that?
I think when there's consistency of clients and people that are supporting your art, it's easy to kind of create like a platform of or a regiment of like work on a consistent basis because you have work coming in. It, to tell you how I got from like point A to point B really just has to deal with faith, having faith, and being like just like it's a marathon, it's not a race. So it kind of started off as like maybe it was a hobby, and then it became like, okay, people are hiring me out. They want one canvas. That's okay. They want two, three. Now it's like, okay, how are we figuring? How do we figure out shipping and receiving? How do we figure out Shopify? All these things happen like gradually. It wasn't like we built it up in the past like 5 or 10 years, like sweat equity, just like not knowing if people were gonna pay us, and then it just started like rolling out little by little.
Yeah. So when you are like doing that process, how do you kind of in a sense navigate like, okay, this is making me money. So I know this works, my bread and butter. I have clients that pay for this, but like I like doing this shit. Like I want to explore this, but like I don't have the time because I know I need to do this because this is what we're getting, deposits for or possible, proposals for. But like this is calling my attention. We're here. I want to do a giant mural on the side of a bus. I
Yeah,
mean, no pun intended, but like how do you kind of manage the bread making, the bread and butter versus the passion?
I think having like a work life balance and not comparing yourself to what the industry is doing or the algorithm. It's trying to figure out like what works best for you. So like for me, it was okay if it's music making me money, then like a percentage of that is focused on music, and a percentage of that is focused on art, and you kind of compartmentalize it in a way where you don't get burnt out. So like
Mm.
work life balance, and then figuring out how to separate these different factions of work to your benefit.
But isn't like your work your life basically?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah,
do art, so that's
yeah,
why it gets
yeah. We work.
sometimes the lines get crossed.
Yeah, we work from home, but it doesn't feel like work. I mean, it is
Right.
work. It is work, but it's kind of like it's kind of up to us if we want it to
Yeah,
be work, and that's kind of like why we're like 24/7 in it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and I think the part that sometimes I struggle with is that, like you said, like it doesn't feel like work, and it's just like life. Like it's, call it work life balance, but it's kind of like a work life like symbiosis of like everything. But then there is the, like you're working on the actual work that's a transaction that people are paying you for, but then there's the work of like your business, like you, Roc Sol. Like I gotta create content, I gotta like post this social media thing, I gotta do this podcast with Zaya, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And then sometimes that gets like pushed to the back burner because you're like, you don't, it's not really bringing in money, but it kind of is indirectly, but you don't see the instant like, here's a deposit, here's the invoice. So it's like it always gets pushed to the back when I'm like, but I know if I do more of it, it'll actually return more work, because then it's like you're promoting yourself, you're positioning yourself in a way so other people know what you do, and then in turn people want to like hire you. You're in people's mind. They're like, oh, that's right, Roc Sol does this, and let me hit him up. Like, so it's always like, how do you kind of manage that? Like manage everything.
I think blocking out the noise and just being consistent with your craft and creating a body of work. I'm pretty sure you've DJ'd a bunch of sets, you've done events, you've done production. Like that's a whole body of work and knowledge that you have to explain to future clients.
Mm.
And sometimes like you're not gonna get paid doing that. You're just gonna have to create this stuff and have a lot of faith that people are gonna notice it. And then there's, I mean, obviously there's marketing, right?
Yeah.
There's, putting yourself out there, but it's also about the approach. So for me at the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm going to do art and it's going to be dope and people are going to see it. And then I was like, that's not how the world works,
Right.
because like we're in a attention economy. So it's like, how do I grab your attention, or how do I grab other people's attention? Like I'm an artist, but there's so many artists here in Miami, in the United States, in the world, right? There's a bunch of artists that write and record music, that produce. So like, what makes me different than anyone else? And that's the thing. I feel like artists, we have to kind of sit back and kind of like figure out like how to tap into that.
Yeah, and then tapping into what makes you unique is actually what sets you apart. Like, and it's funny because you always get trapped in the, what are they doing? Like, let me follow that trend. Oh, that's popping right now. But then you get lost in what everyone's doing. Whereas if you stay the course of doing what you do is what actually gets you more work or makes you stand out. And also what people relate to. I always like tell people, like, if someone likes you, they're more inclined to work with you, because if your work is good, then they're like, yeah, but I also like him, like, and what his interests. And then you find things that overlap and you're like, I just vibe with him. Like, I want to give him the work, versus someone that probably might be better or might be what they're looking for, but the vibe isn't there.
Yeah.
I think that's like super important, but that many people overlook.
Yeah. I think when I met Adrian for the first time, the fact that we collabed on a canvas, like that icebreaker, like it did a lot for me, because I was like, I come from graffiti. So like graffiti artists are not the nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
It's a lot of ego, a lot of stuff. And it's like a breath of fresh air to meet another artist and break bread like that, you know? So like that made me look at Adrian differently, because I was like, oh, like, we both do patterns and we're both like in the same area, but like nobody cares because we're both creating art. Like this is like a moment in time. Look where
Exactly.
it's at. You know what I'm saying? Imagine like we let ego get in the way of that and nothing happens.
Nah.
So that's kind of like, you have to remove yourself from, like, it's big. All the stuff that we do is bigger than just the moment, So,
right. And then like tapping into, your interests and who you are and all that. I like that day you guys also were opening my mind to, like, the Web3 and building a community online, and like, how did you kind of get into that? Because that shit always scared me of like, and you guys were breaking it down for us in a way where I was like, okay, maybe it's not that serious of how I'm thinking it in my head. But I mean, if you could talk to me kind of about not only building a community online, because I think that's important. Like we're trying to do that here, online and offline, and like kind of merge the two, but then also building that community online within the Web3 NFT space and digital art.
Oh, 100%. For me, it started on Discord, doing digital backgrounds. for the Bored Apes. At the time, I didn't know really what it was, like what NFTs were, or IRL events, or online communities. I mean, from my perspective, I it was kind of like playing Destiny 2 on Xbox or Clubhouse. So this is like the pandemic.
Yeah, I
I'm in my
remember Clubhouse.
Yep. I'm in my studio efficiency and I'm doing phone calls with Lifeline Screening. That was my sales job at the time. In between those calls, I'm doing these digital backgrounds
Mm.
for people's PFPs. And this is like the concept is okay, this is their digital profile. Like this is they're taking content creating like how you would see YouTube or Instagram, but they're putting like a digital PFP behind it. And that's like their character, you know? So I was like, oh, that's cool. And then obviously, like you own like the rights to it, like the IP rights, and you could do all types of stuff with it, which I also understood from my dad's perspective because if you needed to use like the Mickey Mouse IP or
Mm.
Digimon or Pokemon, like there's a lawyer involved, there's a lot of red tape, you have to pay money to use like likeness. What this is more of like a digital membership that you're a part of a community and a club and they have IRL events. They have like a video game platform where people like devs build on Unreal Engine. Everything's super plug and play. You're on Twitter Spaces. They have podcasts. So all this stuff, it's like a over sensory load petri dish of creativity.
Yeah.
There's freaking artists, entrepreneurs, devs, video game developers, billionaires, millionaires, all these people that are like not necessarily invested in the money of the asset going up, just more or less in community building,
Mm.
which is the core of what it was or what it is still.
Yeah, I feel like you have to toe that line of IRL and online.
Yeah.
Like you have to constantly be between back and forth of kind of connecting digitally with that community, but then also making sure you're physically doing things, especially as an artist. Like how do you balance the two? Because it's I feel like I mean both like you said, we're working like 24/7, but the digital world is like literally 25/8.
Yeah, I learned a very long time ago. This is from like a sales event that I went to. This guy said something. It was super profound. He said like your actions like have to be parallel with your results. Like the way that you announce stuff, the way that if you're gonna release a product, like everything has to like not hit, but it has to be like truthful and honest. And that's how you build credibility. The crypto space is the same way. The local Miami scene is the same way. Like if you're building a culture here and you're throwing a show and on the flyer it says these are the acts, these are the people coming in, this is the expectation, and you deliver on that and you apply it on a consistent basis, then that's how you build trust. That's how you build credibility. That's why people fall in love with brands.
Mm.
And that's how people avoid that noise and they separate like uh gossip for like facts, you know?
So, and especially in that space, like going back to valuing yourself and knowing your worth, how do you gauge that market of like what your art should be going in? I mean, both digitally and physically, and like, you know, when you're doing like murals for per se.
Well, I mean, the market decides that, and then you have to pivot, you know, because if
Mm.
you like, you can fall in love with your art, but if the market is down and you're trying to alienate people because of your value, there's a disconnect there. So for me, I was always like, when the market's up, I was like, oh yeah, well, this is my work because I'm really backed up right now. So this is where the value is. And then if the market goes down, then you're like, okay, well, I still love art. I want it to reach people. So like it's like making it make sense for everyone while still doing it full time. I think a lot of people haven't cracked that code. But for me, that was like how we were able to be sustainable.
And do you think like the whole Web3 and the digital landscape is kind of changing how art, I mean, it obviously is, but like how it's purchased, whether it's in real life or through NFTs or whatever the case is, like, do you think all artists have to adapt to that? Or is that kind of just like, oh, you do that and also this? Or do you think like it's inevitable where like you got to be in that space?
you don't have to be in the space. Like no one's forcing people to be into crypto
Right.
or like the NFT space. It's more of like it if you find similarities, things that you can relate to, and you feel like, oh, this is another branch of community that I can connect with. That was my perspective. My perspective was tuning out the noise, critical thinking, right? And then figuring out like what works and what doesn't work. And it's the same logic that applies to every industry: credibility, trust, consistency, community. All these things, they all go hand in hand. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm like a successful artist and there's no data to back it up. Once you can back it up with data, it's hard to tell people that it's not real.
I like that. Yeah, it's like you said, it's like almost showing the proof in whatever it is you're doing, whether it's like a proposal, an event, an artist you're booking. Like you have to have that credibility. But I mean, it goes back to kind of encapsulating everything. Like you have the content that shows what you're doing, but then you have the proof of the work that you have done, and then you have the actual products that you're putting out, and then you as a person.
Yeah. Like in that space, I was able to do that through the canvases and the murals. So my content on Twitter was like, this is a canvas that I did. This is another canvas. This is another mural. This is an IRL event that I did. And because of that, we were able to get like a really big Web2 company, Fortune 500 company by the name of Verizon. So it's kind of weird. Like we're in the crypto space, but then we got a big client through just our portfolio. And again, we weren't like strategically planning to do that. That was just a body of work that we laid out.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to tell people like, oh, if you do it this way, this is
Yeah.
the result that you're going to get. But have a little faith, put in the work, and then just like see what happens. And also like learn about information. It's constantly changing and being okay with that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's super important. Like, especially I've been realizing like sometimes you got to be ready for an opportunity that like you don't even know where it's going to come from. And like it might be the one thing, that one creative outlet that is probably not, it's like a hobby to you. It's like something that you're just, oh, I like that. I'm going to throw that into the arsenal and start doing that. But like you don't think it's going to pay off, but then someone just sees it and they're like, why don't you come do that for us? Or like, oh, I didn't know you were into that. Like, why don't you now you do that and the thing you do? So it's like, I feel like now in the information attention age, it's like the more you show of who you are and what you do is like you are actually opening up more opportunities. Whereas back in the day, it was the mentality was, at least for me, was like, no, I need to only show people this one thing because then they're not going to take me serious because they're seeing I'm doing other things. Where it's like, I feel like that's flipped as we're like, oh, that's cool. Like he does that. His main thing is that he's an artist, but like he likes this, he likes that. Where I was like, before it was like, don't show anyone anything.
Yeah.
Because you got to be a legit, like,
Yeah.
hungry artist, starving artist, you know?
Yeah, I think it's because like everything's changed since like the internet, social media. I mean, if you go on YouTube, like there's just everyone's like a hybrid. Everybody's multifaceted, and then everything is shown like in increments. Like you don't even have to show everybody everything that you do. You just have to like put it out.
Yeah.
I mean, life is short too, bro. Like you might as well just put everything out, bro. At this point, like just fucking put it out, and you'll be surprised. Like the one thing I realized is like because I put out my music and I put out my art, like even if people don't like it here, there's someone in freaking Asia that likes it. There's someone
Isn't that crazy?
in Amsterdam. There's like someone in Dubai, and I'm like, whoa, like this is like that's what's cool about the internet, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like sometimes I'll drop episodes and I'm like, oh man, you should have more downloads or whatever. But then I go in to see the analytics and I'm like, well, why aren't people like in Thailand and Brazil like rocking it? And like it's so interesting how like that works, where you can reach so many people and there's so many things you could put out. Like I think now people discover like things about themselves through art, like trying to dabble into new things or experimenting. Like have you experimented with AI and using that in your art, or how do you feel about that?
I've like used it for like creating systems, like or like just like a small percentage of it as reference. But the most of the work that we do create is original. Like we have layers on Procreate. or Adobe Premiere or Photoshop. But really, it's like to create systems, is to think about like, okay, if I'm an artist, how do I fix my SEO settings? How do I fix like my approach to people, like conversation based? Like, why are artists more successful? Because they're like people or like minded or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the difference between like an introvert and an extrovert artist? Like, it's weird.
Wow.
It's really getting and typing into like the psyche of stuff and then applying it in real world applications.
Damn. That's a good. I haven't heard that type of approach. Like when you're researching other artists or other art, like how that, the psyche of it. That's a good one. Have you ever just got in a rabbit hole talking to your AI?
Not yet. Not yet. I just like, I feel like if I do that, then I'm like, I don't know if I'm actually being myself or am I
Right.
being the prompt, you know?
Yeah, you
Like,
see those videos where it's like, I'm not a prompt.
yeah.
Like you
I
can't
don't
tell
know.
what's real.
I mean, I personally love it in a sense where like streamlining, like,
Yeah.
you know, back in the days, if you were to paint a mural, like you need to paint from reference and that would take time. And then it went from painting from reference to like doodle grid or projector. And now people are using like the meta quest to sketch, you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? In some instances, like people do need to learn structure, you know, in order to be sustainable as an artist. So I would say like don't use AI as like a crutch for it. So yeah, that'll be like my
right.
2 cents on it.
What are you excited about most for like the future, like technology and art and like that as that keeps advancing? Because a lot of people, it's either you're everyone's getting replaced or oh this is crazy like what we're able to do and what we're gonna be able to do.
I don't know. I think storytelling is gonna be cool.
Hmm.
I think, I mean, originality is still gonna be very sought after.
Even more.
Yeah, and I feel like AI is will probably make that easier for artists. Like I know it probably feels like oh we're losing everything, but I feel like at the same time, it's you know the people who are making original flyers, you know the people who are coming up with scripts,
Yeah.
who are coming up with concepts and ideas that like it doesn't have that human fingerprint, so you can kind of differentiate what's real and what isn't, right? And that's why I tell people like if it's percentage based, then maybe 20% of AI and the
Yeah.
rest is just all you. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with using Suno. Same thing with using
Yeah.
Claude or freaking what are all these other AI platforms and stuff?
There's like
There's so
20 that
many.
just popped up right
Yeah,
now.
Higgsfield.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, you're still gonna have to go back and fix it. Like even Higgsfield doesn't have it
Yeah.
correct. You know, so it's like you still have to mold and sculpt. Like you still have to do the work. So I think what's getting me excited is the initial idea, and then seeing where people take it.
Yeah.
You know.
Nah,
So
and it's so super true. Like it's already been a couple years of people kind of, you know, be more prominent of use of AI that you're able to clock it in like a second. You're like, bro, you're still like, you're not even gonna delete the hyphen. Like, come on.
and also like creating systems. I feel like
Yeah.
once artists figure out how to create systems, work regimens, just things that are going to improve their daily lives, and then I'm like, okay, that's a cool use case.
Yeah, like automation of things that used to be annoying, but like, you know, invoices or just things that you can connect that might seem so simple, but of like an email comes in and then it goes directly into project management and then that creates an invoice and whatever the case is. But like that cuts a lot of time, especially for artists that hate doing that.
Yeah. Or even like figuring out how to use like the podcast bus,
Mm,
being like, okay, what are the best use cases for this? And how
yeah.
can we apply that to the local community and to ourselves, where it's
Yeah.
like a parallel win-win. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like people don't think about that. They're like, oh, how do I make art sales? It's like, no, 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 no. We need to
Yeah.
think a little bit bigger, a little bit more broad, and then you could start narrowing
Yeah.
down the scope of work.
Or even we were just talking about like you take a picture of the bus and you say, what's the best, most efficient way to use the space for a podcast, but while highlighting art and, you know, getting specific with it. And then you can run mock-ups and just to get ideas. And then we're like, oh, we could do that. Oh, we have that. We could buy that. We could put a DJ on the roof. Like, you know,
That's the party. That's like DJ on the roof.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think it's super true. Like people, I mean, that's with everything, but people are always pessimistic about new things, but I feel like what you said is super on point, where now the people that are truly creative and truly about their craft are going to be able to stand out, because there's going to be so much noise, where the storytellers, the people that like take their craft serious are gonna be able to win, and also be using those tools at the same time.
It's almost like that saying, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, which it's easy now. Everyone is doing it, but that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing for us, because now people can just differentiate. They can be like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm hiring this guy out because I want the human touch. It's almost the same thing as like if I'm speaking to customer service and it's like, press 1 for this, and you're just frustrated. You're like, no. I want to talk to DJ. You know what I'm saying? Talk to you. You know what I'm saying?
No, but there was never like a benchmark almost for creativity. It was always like, oh, like we're paying this guy and he costs this much, or he's doing this and he's doing that. But now it's like you can see the quote unquote AI slop or whatever it is. Like, oh, okay, this is why we pay this guy, even though it takes him 5 minutes to figure it out. It's like he has that human element, that human touch of, I want to do this.
There was one thing I was going to point out. You were explaining about like your value as a DJ. And to me, when you talk to people and you explain exactly what it is that you do, like the benefits, not saying that you're better than people, but just the difference between you and other people, that is why people go to you. They're like, oh, this guy took time out of his day to explain the red flags, the price points, the why, and that's why people like people.
Yeah.
So that took me a long time to learn. You know what I'm
No.
saying?
And it's also in the same facet, recognizing who you're talking to and like kind of creating that perfect, I don't want to say client, but like you want to also being the creator, do business with people that align with you. So it's like, example of DJing, like I can go talk to a nightclub and tell them this, that, and the other, but they're probably gonna be like, yeah, cool, bro, but like you're like in a bus doing a podcast and you're doing like, and or you're doing a fashion show or an art event, like now we're trying to sell bottles, and like, yeah, and I'm also not trying to be in that environment, so we're obviously not gonna align like that. So it's like also figuring out like not everyone's gonna be your cup of tea, but when you understand your cup of tea, you're able to identify those people and be like, okay, I think this will be dope if we pull up to a park and we do a brand activation where I'm DJing on the roof and you're doing a live mural and we're recording it and then we're selling it to them for this and that and the other. Like, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about and he has the DJ background to back it up. And okay, I understand now. Versus like, cool, bro, but like, how many bottles are we gonna sell?
Yeah, a lot of it too is that like when you say stuff verbally to people, it just doesn't hit.
Yeah.
When you put in the sweat equity and you get the content creators out and you just do it, even if you know you're not gonna get money out of it, and you show people, like you set people up with a Zoom meeting, and the person that wants to hire you out, they see the videos, they see the pitch deck, they see the data. It's like you have to hit them with like all these things. So then they start getting hype and they start asking questions like, oh, what about this? What about that? Now, if you do it like, yo, if you tell them verbally, like I'm talking to you or on the phone, they don't know what they want until you show them. And it's also about the approach. How you show people stuff is like 99% of the sale. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like, once you show them your approach or proposal, it's like that, oh, this person can execute, because they understand like, okay, he took the time to create this deck. He's already done this before. There's a video, even if like you did it at your own, in your own backyard or whatever the case is. But yeah, it's like people think you could just talk to someone and convince them, but like especially in Miami, you need like proof and like execution. So when you deliver something visual, it has to be on point, because they judge you right off the bat with that.
Oh yeah, it's very superficial. But then when you use those business practices, it actually does work. And again, this is stuff that we learn from like the online digital community space. Like we're like hosting meetings and the pitch deck and the Excel spreadsheet and explaining to people the data and this perfecting our pitch and then showing the murals, and all these things have a correlation. So then when we started working with Verizon, of course they're gonna say yes to us, because we explain it to them. Okay, like what is your intent? Like you guys want people to paint murals, but why? Why do you want people to paint murals? So then we go back to the drawing board. we customize the deck, we customize the pitch. It like nobody really thought about it like that. They're just like they were too heavy handed on value. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm a big artist. I have a big name. This is how much I'm worth. I'm not even gonna do a sketch for you for free. And they didn't get the sale. We Project Roadmap came in. We came in. We're like showing you content creating, showing you like all these different avenues. Those people, and there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen too.
Yeah.
They're all there thinking like, well, we could all really look good. Everybody wants to look good, right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah. It's
so
playing
like
the game.
exactly. So it's like you kind of make it their idea as well. That's like another approach to it. So like there's just so many different avenues. And then all of that gets funneled back into creating the original art.
Right.
Our original art. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think about it as like you're almost being a part-time consultant for them without like charging them.
Yeah.
But you kind of are charging them, but you're almost like let's work together on why this could work, and then like you said, bouncing it back to them of like, oh, that is a good idea. Like, how'd you come up with that? But it's like you're kind of giving them that alley oop to be like, this is where I see it, and you're asking questions, and not just like, look, man, this is what I got, this is what I do, this is the price point, here you go. It's like, nah, I want to know, I want to really know your business. I want to know why you're doing this, that, and the other. Like, I want to understand so then I can help you, and then you can help me.
Yeah. I want to help change that about Miami.
Hmm.
That's the one thing I did learn about like dealing with the different online communities and dealing with people from all over the world. Like the way that we operate is different from how LA operates or Dubai. So it's like you kind of have to be a little bit loose, a little bit whimsical with your with because people are excited to see you. They're like, "Oh my god, you guys don't realize, but you have a IRL space here in Miami." So imagine people coming down and wanting
Yeah.
to visit. You know what I'm saying? Imagine being like, oh, I'm not going to show you anything because I have to gatekeep this one specific thing that if you learn it, then no, like you're killing the momentum. Don't kill the momentum. Show people what you got. And I guarantee you, like, it's going to blow up. It will blow up.
Yeah, Miami's a whole different world, man.
Oh, yeah.
You got to operate like, but it also, what I've learned throughout the years is that almost the benchmark of like people and how they do business in Miami is, I don't want to say so low, but it's like if you're just reliable, you communicate and you do what you say you're gonna do, you're like 1,000 steps ahead of people just and being on time and like just the little things is crazy.
Even slowing down. I think everybody wants
Yeah.
everything now. Because I'm like, oh, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm in the Palmetto. I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm not getting this result. And it's like, no. Like this stuff takes time. Like let it
Yeah.
cook. First build a foundation. Like nothing successful literally happened overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like anything that we do, we have to position ourselves that way. Because if people think that we could just do it like that,
Yeah.
then that's where we get burnt out. That's where the work-life balance is like we're doing like a disjustice to ourselves.
100, bro. I had to learn that like the hard way for sure, because you get, especially when you're young, you're like overcompensating because you're almost in that imposter syndrome or insecurity of your work. So you're like, yeah, but if I give it to them fast, they can't say shit. If I like deliver it, it's like, damn, it was good, but like he's quick with it, he's reliable. But then you get into that rhythm of like, yeah, what do you need? What do you need? I got you. Oh, you need that done right now? Oh, cool. You need a mix by tomorrow? Okay, got you. Oh, you need like this artwork? Oh, give me a couple hours. Blah, blah, blah. And then, but then you pigeonhole yourself into that role, and then you get burnt out, like you said, instead of like, which I've over the last couple of years, especially when you have children, you have to be either the power of saying no or, all right, I got you. Give me till next week. Depending the project, some things it's lightning in a bottle. You gotta like go for it. But there's some things where it's like, yeah, I understand you're excited, but these things take time.
Yeah. I think communicating that is the first figuring out like what it is that you really want out of the situation, or making it make sense where it's like a mutual gain for both parties,
Mm-hmm.
and then communicating that, because I think it has a lot to do with instant gratification.
Yep.
Where people are like, oh, I can get it for cheaper, I can get it for faster, and you shouldn't punish yourself for being proficient in your work.
Yeah.
It's really about explaining to them, hey, like, I spent years in this industry. These are the type of results. This is my turnaround, but this is my value, my price point. And like not being like a dick about it, still customer service. It's just nicely saying it and
Right.
communicating that. And then you'll find out like customers or clients are like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're not going to give you pushback. But if you don't tell them that, then that's where the resentment comes. Because you're like, damn, I put myself in this position again.
Yeah. And I also realized that everyone's baseline, because they're so accustomed to it, they're just like, yo, ASAP. Like they just start at ASAP, but they don't really need it ASAP. There's some times where you're like you download the data and you're like, okay, well, yeah, they kind of do need it ASAP because it's probably gonna go to print, and then they want this and they want to do that. So yeah, they need it quick. But there's some things where you're like, bro, you just need it ASAP because you just came up with the idea right now, but not really.
We've had clients like that. We've had people like that were like, we need this done. And it's not like, I was like, okay, so like, what's your deadline? Like, this is our deadline. And then we render services, deliver in deadline. And then months later, it was supposed to be like ready for them. So I was like, it's kind of like a power play. They're trying to
Yeah.
like, oh, put that on like unwanted pressure on you. And it's really about like, it has to do with us too. Because if we don't set that boundary, then that's all relationships are going to be like that. They're just
Yep.
going to be like, I need this result. That's what I mean. It feels like people are literally stuck in traffic. They got out of work. They're trying to get home, right? And that's where the selfishness comes in.
Yeah.
So it's like we kind of have to like not flip it on them, but like show them
Yeah.
the empathy, the perspective from both angles.
Yeah,
you know?
no, and understanding also sometimes there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen, like you said. So sometimes you can clock when, okay, this is not really coming from you, but you're feeling the pressure. So I'm gonna help you, but also you have to understand I can't do it right now. So it's like always seeing like everybody in the room.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have my wife because she taught me emotional intelligence. At first, I was like,
It's
"Oh,
important.
if I do dope art, people are gonna understand who I am. They're gonna get it. They're gonna." And it's like, "Nah, bro, you have to like communicate with us." And I'm like, "But I'm not even that good of a communicator." I was like, "Well, you got to work on it. Like,
Right.
you're an introvert. You can go to parties and talk to people, but now you got to figure out how to deal with rejection. Now you got to figure out like what it is that you're trying to do. Like, who are you? You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah.
That's the best thing I could tell anyone, bro. Like, figure out who you are and be happy with it and grow.
Yeah. I mean, for any industry, I feel like that's the key. Any walk of life, any business. Yeah, that's funny. You got to learn how to be. I mean, look, we're practicing here right now.
Yeah.
We're talking.
I feel like we're on some Rick Rubin type shit.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin's like, bro, like that's a really dope song, but I really like what I want you to do is like strip this down and let's just figure out why you're even doing the music. And I'm like, bro, why are you telling me this? I just want to make the music. He's like, watch, you'll see.
It's true though, bro. When you take that step back and you analyze like why are you doing things, it makes it easier to then, okay, I should be doing this, or I don't want to be doing that, or you ask your AI like what
Am I going the right direction? He's like, yeah, but AI is always going to agree with you
Yeah.
too. So it's like you kind of do
Great
need-
questions, Aya. I think you
AI is like your cheerleader, so you do need a little
Yeah.
bit of resistance. So that's why,
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's tough, bro. It's tough. So do you have like any advice for artists or any creatives really that are trying to find their way in their path?
be practical and delusional at the same time. I know it's gonna probably drive people crazy because it's like, it goes back to like sometimes you do have to look like a fool, and you're gonna have it's trial and error. You're gonna have to mess up. It's not about perfection. It's about progress, practicality, in a sense of like create systems for yourself that build confidence, high self-esteem, so that you're able to, you know, get out of the cocoon, spread out the butterfly wings, like, be, because like when you first get started, you're trying to figure out who you are. And then when years go by, you're trying to figure out how to do sales, how to build meaningful relationships, because that's part of longevity. So it's a mix of practicality and being delusional. I'm sorry. I know it sounds crazy.
Nah, I
But
love that. That might be a t-shirt.
yeah.
Practical delusional.
Yeah.
Practically delusional.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Let's go.
I'm gonna write that down. Well, I'll leave you with this last question. What does creativity mean to you?
It's everything. It's breathing. It's entrepreneurship. It's relationships. It's walking through life knowing that everything is a sequence of events. Having faith, painting. Imagine you're painting in a room where it's like dark and you're just like putting patterns and you're putting paint and like you turn on the light and you're like, wow, I created this in the dark. And then you start learning how to create in the light. And you start having appreciation and gratitude towards seeing things for what they are.
I love that, bro. Well, yo, thank you for coming through. Thank you for blessing the bus for the first time. Appreciate it. Let them know where they can find you, man.
Oh, that's crazy. You can find me outside of the bus. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll be painting.
Roc Sol Miami. That's ROCSOL Miami. Same thing on X, same thing on Twitter, TikTok, all social media platforms. Gonna be dropping music soon. Dropping art. Shout out to the BAYC family. 5-year anniversary. Shout out to Casa Cultura.
Shout out.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this has been a dope vibe. Happy
Thank
to be
you, bro.
here.
Appreciate it, man.
Let's go.
Sheesh.